for H5 plan. Just because the pieces were traded doesn't mean it's not coming. And just because that game's going doesn't mean we don't have another one. Vaishali taking on Anna. This is a battle where Vaishali, if she can strike, she would slow down the tournament leader, and we would have a leapfrog at the top of the standings. I think it was Wenjun's victory, which, by the way, we still haven't given enough credit to. She beat Pia Cromling in this crazy game. We're going to make sure we give you a full game review and analysis. I may be wrong about the standings and the leapfrogging. I haven't checked it closely, but the point is it's a very, very close race at the top of Norway Chess Women.
Yeah, Vaishali would close the gap on Anna Muzychuk. Meanwhile, fireworks from Magnus Carlsen. Double exclamation point move, I can confirm. Knight e6 landing, forcing a queen trade. And Magnus, it's good knight versus bad bishop. Will it be good knight for Prag? It's going to be a horrible endgame to defend now. The black bishop, a real bystander to their action right now. This is Magnus's bread and butter, surely.
His territory, he loves it. Knight e6, didn't miss his chance to simplify matters. And now it is super hard to hold. That bishop on g6 is just wishing it could play. You can even move it to c2, but it doesn't matter because you're not actually threatening to take b3. So a really nice transition. We say that when pawns are on both sides of the board, you often do prefer the bishop, but when a knight is centralized, it neutralizes the power of the bishop in most cases, and this is no exception.
Prag jumping in. He's trying to somehow go after the white pawn. If the queenside pawns disappear, Prag will likely draw. But Magnus needs to keep the b pawn alive. The world number one picks up a piece to fiddle with. He looks anxious. 3.5 minutes against just under 2 minutes. The Armageddon on the other side of your screens, on the right side of your screens there. Vaishali giving up her bishop pair. It looks like a great start for Anna Muzychuk on that board. Okay, brother, sister, both in action right now in the Armageddons.
Both of them in action and both of them are trying their very best. But can Prag defend this? He still needs to hold on to that a5 pawn. Rook c5 would be a way to defend the pawn, but it looks a bit suspicious that everything is just hanging in there by a thread.
Yeah, and Prag drops his bishop back, asking for a trade of one set of rooks. Due to white's weak back rank, you cannot yet go pawn grabbing. You need to give the white king some breathing space. Prag, yeah, he's such a great defender, but Magnus is the endgame grinder. So hard to see beyond Magnus here with the extra time on the clock.
Prag really is so tenacious. He's just done it so many times in this event. You really got to give him credit for it. It's the thing that doesn't show up in the scoreboard, even if he loses a game like he did to Hikaru Nakamura, right? What people didn't see if they didn't watch it was just how close Prag came to stealing a stalemate from the jaws of defeat there. He did lose to Hikaru, but just that's just one example on my brain right now. But yeah, this kid is just so tough to take down. But again, I think Magnus will get this job done. He's bringing the king over to d2, which is going to be a massive help because the king and knight collectively will guard the c2 square, which allows white to be more aggressive when you're not worried about that move any longer.
Wow, Prag drops his bishop back to f5 where it can be captured, wrecking the black pawn structure. But I think he just needed to keep this bishop on the diagonal. If he'd gone the other way, there would have been tricks with b4, black bishop hanging. Big question now, rook trade. Who does it favor? Can Magnus go for this? Rook's off the board. It's pure knight versus bishop now.
Got to be good for Magnus.
Surely. But the eval bar says no. How frustrating is that? There have been famous examples. I remember Karpov once drawing a game with an isolated queen's pawn like this. Good knight versus bad bishop, where he just sat. He just sat. There was no way forward for white. But Magnus can maneuver around forever now with his knight. I expect this game to go on at least another 50-60 moves as Magnus tries to recircuit his knight and win a black pawn, Anna.
And that's the thing, the time will be a factor too, because even if Prag's position should be holdable, he will need to hold it with only 46 seconds left on the clock, and the increment is only 1 second. This is just so much time trouble.
Holy bejeezer snaps with that stat.
Wow.
13.5 out of 14 when he is white in Armageddon games. That shouldn't be legal.
That's against world-class opposition.
Yeah, he's not playing Armageddon games against me on the weekends. You know what I mean? I mean, this is a guy who's taken on the best players in the world and getting it done at a percentage that makes you question what you think is possible. All right, but Prag making us question what might be possible in terms of defense. Again, I expect he's going to lose this game because of the point Anna made, which was a great one. 1 second increment is not a lot on the clock, and it's going to be super tough in a scramble. The knights are so pesky, David. I said the bishop is preferred when there are pawns on both sides of the board, but the knight is preferred in spots like this. It can switch colors back and forth, poke and prod, and it's going to be really hard to deal with that now that you're under 20 seconds.
Yeah, and Magnus is creating a second front of attack. Black has a weak isolated pawn. And now White's trying to make a pass pawn of his own, but Pragg retreats his king, giving up a pawn. That was the only way to keep the game going.
No way.
Pragnananda Tenacious should be his middle name, because he's defending this like a lion. Magnus can go up a pawn. He does win that pawn, but ultimately 3 versus 2. Magnus running out of material. Can the black bishop hold off the white knight? Still tough.
Still very tough, and as tough as Pragg is defending, it's bound to happen that he cracks under so much time pressure, and the evaluation board is jumping even further.
Yeah, I think now Magnus can even play g5, put the pawns where they sit, then bring the knight back, and the king and knight should be able to do work advancing on the dark squares specifically. Okay, he plays knight f4 check. Would love to get king.
Key factor, and 1 second increment, very low. It's basically nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing. We saw the eval bar around the middle for a long time, but I think we all expected Magnus Carlsen to win that. It's just his type of position. In terms of the other Armageddons, whose type of position is it? Alireza, Firouzja, and Nakamura. It's typically wild for them. Hikaru takes a sip of his drink, despite being lower on the clock. Really calm there. Another great Armageddon player. Vaishali against Anna Muzychuk looks in the balance. 2 knights versus 2 bishops. That one, it's a matter of taste. I'm not sure who holds the advantage. White, though, a pawn up.
And if you're just tuning in, these are the last 2 games in progress here in round 8 of 24 Norway Chess and Norway Chess Women. We'll give you a rundown of all the results. We got some games to review. We got a ton of exciting stuff ahead in this show, so don't go anywhere. But yeah, we're going to be dialed in, locked in right here with a 2-board view, and very, very different kind of game than we had in Classical between Firouzja and Nakamura. Despite the same opening being played, this position is maybe more what you kind of expect out of that opening. The other game became a Ponziani on steroids and all kinds of weird stuff where Hikaru probably should have won with black and an attack. But this one, David, feels a little more typical.
A little more typical. Black has given up a pawn in order to activate his pieces here. Hikaru pauses. He's only 1.5 minutes down on the clock, so he's eaten away at the time disadvantage. Firouzja looking up at the screen there. But yeah, Black's pieces super active. Can he compensate? On the other board, it looks like Anna Muzychuk taking control. She was a pawn down temporarily. She's regained the material. She has the bishops. She has the queenside pressure. On the red board, it looks like Muzychuk is the big favorite.
Big favorite with the draw odds and better position. As long as she keeps the time under control and starts speeding up with only 2.5 minutes left, I think that's going to be the only big issue for Anna, the time disadvantage.
No, great point. Yeah, and it is real. That's the one thing Vaishali has done, is maintain the time advantage, right? It's not 3 minutes, but it's there because it does slowly go away. So if you still got a 2-minute edge and your opponent is under 2 minutes, that's usually a pretty good benchmark to set. I think despite what the eval bar says, I really like Vaishali's practical chances in this game because of the time, because the knights are so darn tricky in scrambles. The one thing I don't like about Vaishali's position is she consistently gets that H-pawn a little overextended and in trouble. We've seen it happen a lot, and I think that H5 pawn is not long for this world.
That's true. A big pattern in her play, Danny. It seems to happen all the time. In the meantime, it looks like Hikaru in a bit of trouble.
Yes, sorry, David. I started talking at the same time as you because I was looking at the screen, and Rook C8 seems to be a mistake by Hikaru.
Yeah, White's pawn is attacked on the left side of your screens there, along the C-file, but it can simply step forward. It can be defended. In the break, actually, after their classical game, Firouzja was sat right in front of us with his second, with a laptop, and they were clearly analyzing this opening. It's paid off.
Yeah, and they were in great spirits after Alireza has escaped in the classical game. He was in deep trouble against Hikaru.
Yes, flips. The script have flipped, I should have said. Pawn to C4.
The flips have flipped, is what you said. And yeah, he does. He flips the script. They checked in with the computer, changed the approach. Now Hikaru has his work cut out for him, and he's also down 2 minutes on the clock, similar to the board on the right, where Vaishali up about 2 minutes against Anna Muzychuk. So This is it. This is what the people pay for. We love Armageddon.
So much action. Vaishali's position improving every single move. You guys were right. The rook is sliding. Anna Muzichuk down under 2 minutes. Magnus Carlsen's going to be watching this game with a lot of interest. His lead will grow if Hikaru cannot win this Armageddon. Looks like Firouzja's pawn structure just improving every single move. Wow, all bets are off here, but it does look like Alireza Firouzja maybe with the best position out of anyone in the Armageddon right now.
This could be the biggest comeback of the day. Alireza Firouzja, he was very, very much in a dubious situation.
Pretty much
classical.
losing. Yeah, he was pretty much losing.
Didn't want to call it that, decisively losing, but yeah, like practically speaking, he was lost in his classical game. He managed to save it. He managed to escape with a draw, also because of Hikaru not playing the move he wanted to instantly play on the board, and now he might be winning in Armageddon.
Yeah, you're right. Huge turnaround. It would definitely be a disappointing swing for Hikaru Nakamura, who was moments away from maybe having a clear lead with a victory as black. But right now is in trouble in Armageddon. And I don't think it's, over yet. There's still a lot ahead here, but feels great to be Firouzja in this spot. Every single piece is objectively better than the black counterpart right now. And the A5 pawn, I'm wondering when its day will come. When can Firouzja just grab it?
Yeah, it might be now, it might be soon. Firouzja, really fascinating and impressive that he gave back his extra pawn for activity. The white rooks look beautiful on that green board. In the meantime, Danny, the prophet, the h5 pawn on the other board has indeed dropped off.
We got to talk to Vaishali about that. I love the Alpha Zero school of chess. And by the way, Vishy is very big in the big on the Alpha Zero school of chess. And we know he works with these players and influences their style. I've had really long conversations with him about it, just how much he believes in this approach having changed the way we can play complex middle games. Just push the A or the H pawn. But jokes aside, Vaishali has overextended her kingside pawns several times in these Norway chess women games. And anyway, interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff. And tactics, there are actually some nasty knight forks on the board for Vaishali, but she's been forced to trade off her knight. Firouzja offering a trade of queens. He's hoping for an endgame against Hikaru. That's a double-edged strategy, but white has so much control that it feels like Firouzja still should be a favorite. 5 minutes against 3.
He's about to pick up the a5 pawn. Yeah. Hikaru can't really defend it. If you have to play rook a8, I think that's really terrible news. There will be a rook on e7. The other rook is very active as well, and so are all the white pieces.
Yeah, and that a5 pawn just looks even lonelier now that the queens are gone. Really nice decision by Firouzja to make that. You see Hikaru lean in, because whatever tricks existed with the queens, some sort of swindles that could have happened if Hikaru got the queen and knight active on the king side, all hope disappeared. The a5 pawn is going to fall, and I can't even find a good move for black right now. You can't play knight e4, by the way, because rook takes g6. Rook takes g6 is just winning in that position. You get 2 pieces for the rook and maybe more because there's a discovered check on the long diagonal. So this is a really tough spot for black.
Really tough. That's why he's tanked Hikaru. He spent 1 minute on this move. You can't really afford that in Armageddon chess. These two have played so much blitz. We saw it earlier, but this looks like Firouzja striking back and getting revenge for the first half of the tournament where it was Hikaru who won the Armageddon. Okay, bishop c2. Hikaru trying to muddy the waters. Good practical try.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of practical tries, good practical try right there, I think, from Anna to get the pawn going. But I actually think she's in trouble. There's not enough time on the clock right now for her to keep this game as it is. She's going to get in a spot where the 1 second increment is not enough. I'm liking Vaishali's chances.
And I'm not liking Firouzja's chances that much anymore. Bishop a2 seems to be a mistake. He could have taken on a5 and guard the bishop on b3.
Yeah.
Could have won a pawn for free, but suddenly it's getting complicated. Hikaru's knight is jumping in. Maybe not the most accurate. I wonder what the tactics were working out. Like if black had just taken the pawn on
A4.
Yeah,
I'm like, why are both players avoiding taking the a-pawns here? Like Firouzja's been able to take that pawn for so long. And Hikaru could have just taken the pawn. So sorry to interrupt. I'm like, I don't get it. The a-pawns are poisoned and we didn't get the memo.
Yeah, and Firouzja, he's going for a kingside attack. I think he's just so zoned in, focused on the f7 pawn and at the black king on the long diagonal that he doesn't care about the queenside. It's only pawns. He wants to cause some concrete problems. Hikaru shaking his head. 1 minute. This is the greatest time disadvantage that Hikaru has faced in any Armageddon so far. Firouzja, he looks locked in, looks zoned in. I think he's still a favorite to get it. In the meantime, it's going to be 3 versus 2. Vaishali against Anna Muzychuk. Rook endgame. Winning chances still in the, on that board. Okay.
Time situation. Both of them are down to 7 seconds. Anna Muzychuk and Vaishali.
Wow, and Hikaru's knight has jumped in on the other board. The rook endgame between Vaishali and Anna Muzychuk will go on a long, long time. But Farouche against Nakamura is just pure tactics.
I don't know if it's going to go a long time. I want to get a zoom in there. I want to see the clock. Let's bring it up. Vaishali and Anna Muzychuk, they're living on the increment. Someone's going to flag.
Yeah, one of them is bound to flag.
This is time, but
I forgot about the clock.
the clock can't. They can't even keep up on the clock, and it just went to 0 on the DGT relay. But that's probably just because the tech does get a little wonky
3 seconds
at these
for
times.
Vaishali.
Ooh,
She has to make progress. Here she goes.
Anna Muzychuk just putting her king back and forth.
2, 1, and the flags.
Oh my gosh! Vaishali the Destroyer has done it again. She gets another victory, and her success over Anna Muzychuk continues. It started in Toronto where she got 1.5 out of 2 at the FIDE candidates. It has rolled over here with